While fans focus on Oregon's flashy uniforms and facilities, the program's true competitive advantage is hidden in a spreadsheet. Phil Knight isn't just donating money, he's engineering a corporate takeover of college football. Most schools treat name, image, and likeness as a fundraising hassle or a chaotic bidding war, leading to wasted budget and roster instability. Oregon professionalized the process by integrating Nike's marketing machinery with an unlimited budget, creating a recruiting model that functions more like an NFL front office than a university athletic department. To understand how this broke the sport, we have to look at the structure that makes the money move. The first thing you need to understand is the shift from bagmen to corporate structure. For decades, paying players was a shadowy operation involving cash and fast food bags. Oregon realized early that legalization meant they could stop hiding and start scaling. They didn't just legitimize the payments, they institutionalized the advantage. This isn't a group of random boosters handing out cash. It is a sophisticated agency model designed to dominate a specific market. Enter Division Street. This is the NIL collective co-founded by Phil Knight, but calling it a collective underplays what it actually is. Unlike fan-funded groups at other schools that rely on subscriptions from alumni, Division Street utilizes former Nike executives to run operations. They brought in Rosemary St. Clair, a former VP at Nike, to lead the organization. This isn't a booster club, it is a branding firm with direct lines to the most powerful apparel company on earth. This structure supports what insiders call the blank check philosophy. Texas head coach Mack Brown publicly commented on Phil Knight's desperate thirst for a national title, noting that Knight is willing to spend whatever is necessary to get it done before he passes away. When you combine unlimited capital with executive level management, you get a market distortion. The real genius, however, is the synergy between the collective, the university, and Nike. At other schools, donors give money to a collective, and the collective pays the player for a tweet or an autograph signing. It feels transactional and often legally gray. Oregon offers recruits immediate global branding opportunities. They can effectively funnel donor money through legitimate marketing contracts that satisfy NCAA compliance because the valuation is backed by the Nike brand machinery. To execute this, Oregon aggressively expanded its internal staffing infrastructure. They employ specific roles like NIL partnership solutions managers and dedicated content producers whose sole job is to maximize athlete earnings and brand value. Consider the role of the director of athlete brand strategy. While other programs rely on overworked compliance officers to approve deals, Oregon has staff teaching 19-year-olds how to monetize their social media engagement rates. They built an in-house creative agency specifically to generate the content that justifies the payments. This creates a feedback loop. Better content leads to higher valuations, which attracts better players. They aren't just coaching football, they are managing portfolios. When a recruit visits Eugene, they don't just see a weight room, they see a business plan for their personal brand. This professionalization allows them to operate with an efficiency that traditional athletic departments can't match. But having the infrastructure is meaningless without the capital to back it up, and the numbers coming out of Eugene are staggering. To see how this infrastructure translates into market dominance, you have to look at the raw data. The most telling metric in college football right now isn't 40-yard dash times, it's the average NIL spend per commit. According to industry estimates and reporting from On3, Oregon's estimated average NIL spend per commit hovers around $263,000. For context, the national average for Power 4 programs is often below $200,000. And even a powerhouse like Georgia, which recruits at an elite level, sits closer to the $180,000 mark. That gap isn't an accident. It is a calculated premium designed to price competitors out of the market. This premium supports a roster construction strategy that is fundamentally different from traditional college recruiting. Historically, coaches recruited high schoolers, developed them for 3 years, and hoped they panned out. Oregon has pivoted to a mercenary acquisition strategy. They are aggressively targeting the transfer portal to buy proven production rather than speculating on high school potential. The logic is simple. Why spend $100,000 on a high school prospect who might bust when you can spend $1 million on a player who has already proven they can dominate in the SEC or Big 12. The 2025 roster construction is the perfect case study for this approach. Oregon brought in 17 high-profile transfers, a number that signals a complete philosophical shift from building a team to buying one. The headliners were quarterback Dylan Gabriel and wide receiver Evan Stewart. While exact contract details are private, industry valuations for both players topped $1 million. When you acquire a quarterback who has already thrown for thousands of yards at Oklahoma, you aren't paying for potential, you are paying for immediate ROI. This aligns perfectly with Phil Knight's timeline. At 86 years old, Knight doesn't have time for a 3-year rebuilding cycle. He is operating with a win-now urgency that prioritizes immediate capital deployment over long-term development. This is the exact opposite of the Moneyball approach that lower revenue teams try to use. In baseball, the Oakland A's tried to find undervalued assets, players who were good but cheap because they had a weird throwing motion or didn't look the part. Oregon is doing the reverse. They are paying premium market rates for blue chip stocks. They are the New York Yankees or Real Madrid, identifying the most expensive, obvious talent in the world and simply outbidding everyone else to get them. By setting the market rate at $263,000 per commit, they effectively create a barrier to entry. If a lower revenue school identifies a great player, Oregon can simply double the offer. It turns the entire sport into a capital allocation game, where the team with the deepest pockets and the highest willingness to spend sets the competitive floor. However, writing the biggest checks doesn't automatically print championship rings, and this aggressive financial model carries significant risks that are already starting to show. The primary counterargument to Oregon's spin-to-win model is found in Athens, Georgia, and Ann Arbor, Michigan. The Georgia Bulldogs won back-to-back national titles, not by having the highest average NIL spend, but by focusing on retention, development, and coaching stability. Michigan won a title with a similar approach, relying on a veteran roster that had played together for years, rather than a collection of high-priced free agents. There is a cultural cost to high NIL payrolls that Oregon is currently flirting with. When you build a roster through the portal by paying mercenaries top dollar, you risk fracturing the locker room. We saw this clearly with Florida State. Their collective, the Battle's End, is one of the top spenders in the country, yet the team started the 2024 season. Why? Because buying talent doesn't buy team cohesion, discipline, or culture. When a transfer quarterback walks in making 4 times more than the offensive lineman protecting him, resentment builds. A team of mercenaries often plays like individuals protecting their business interests rather than a cohesive unit fighting for a program. Oregon is betting that their corporate structure can manage these egos, but history shows that chemistry is rarely something you can purchase on a spreadsheet. Furthermore, a massive regulatory threat is looming that could neutralize Knight's advantage entirely. The House settlement and the introduction of revenue sharing are set to cap direct school payments to players at approximately $20.5 million annually. The goal of this regulation is to standardize player pay and stop the runaway inflation of roster costs. If every school is capped at spending $20.5 million, the playing field theoretically levels out. But this is where Oregon's specific structure might actually be a long-term play. If direct payments from the school are capped, the value of external marketing money becomes the new differentiator. This is Oregon's pivot. Because their money comes largely from Nike-adjacent marketing deals rather than just a donor collective, they can argue that these are legitimate third-party business transactions, not pay-for-play. If the NCAA caps school spending, Knight's ability to funnel additional millions through Nike marketing contracts becomes the ultimate loophole, allowing Oregon to legally exceed the salary cap that restricts everyone else. Yet this reliance creates the golden handcuffs problem. The entire operation is dangerously dependent on a single mega donor. Most blue blood programs like Ohio State or Texas rely on a broad base of wealthy alumni. Oregon's elite status is artificially propped up by Phil Knight. If that funding source disappears, whether through estate changes or a shift in priorities, the program doesn't just regress, it risks collapsing. They have built a Ferrari engine that runs on a very specific, very expensive fuel. If the pump runs dry, they don't have the broad donor base to keep the car running at this speed. They have mortgaged their long-term stability for a short-term window of dominance, creating an existential risk that hangs over every single check they write. Phil Knight's strategy proves college football is now strictly a capital allocation business. It demonstrates that aligning donor billions with corporate structure dictates the competitive floors. This is a ruthless blueprint for buying immediate success that effectively changes the sport forever. If you want to understand the financial mechanics behind other massive sports empires, check out this breakdown of the Dallas Cowboys business model next. It explains the empire Jerry Jones built. Subscribe for more insights.